Hi, and welcome to video 3 of our Intro to RStudio and RMarkdown series. Today we're going to talk about how to use what are packages and how to use the console. So when you open up RStudio, you should see something that looks sort of like this. And if I can look at my packages that I have installed. Now for a package, so packages add on to what's called the base R. So base R contains some functions and things you can use, but packages will add on to that and give us other ways to do things. Before we do that and start installing packages, let's look at this console. So find your tab that says console. Now you can use this just like a calculator, right? I can put 2 plus 3 and it tells me what the answer is. I can even do something like enter pi and it'll give me what pi is. I can even do 2 divided by 0 and it'll tell me it's infinite. So these are just, I can use it like a calculator. I can also assign my results to a variable. So if I say, okay, x is going to be the number 2. Then I can type x and it contains 2. Now you'll notice as I'm doing this, all of the commands I've entered are showing down here in history. Okay, so everything I've entered is in history. And if you use the up arrow on your keyboard, it will scroll, and repeatedly, it scrolls through your previous entries. Your up and down arrow will scroll you through those entries so that you can re-enter the same command. The other thing you can do is you can come into the history window, highlight it, and tell it to copy that to console. Okay, so if I look now in my environment, I can see, oh, it now has a variable called x and a value of 2 in it. If I then do x plus 3, or for instance, then I get the result of 5, but you see x over here still has 2, and if I type x, it still has 2. If I want x to be changed, I have to say x gets x plus 3. Now you can see over here, it has changed the value of x to 5. Okay, so that's how you can use this as a calculator in your console. Now, packages are sort of like, you might think of it like a light bulb analogy, that you're adding a light bulb when you do and install packages. So you're putting the light bulb in. So I could do install.packages, and I suggest you do this. Let's do tidyverse because that's actually a group of packages we're going to use quite a bit. And this will install those packages on your system. So this is installing that group of packages called tidyverse, and you should get some sort of responses like this, similar to this. Now what this has done is this has put the light bulbs into the sockets, but it's not really there for you to use yet until you turn them on. So in order to have them readily accessible, I will library them. That's like turning on the light switch. And now those packages are getting loaded in so that I can use any of those functions that are in any of those, in this case, packages that's part of this sort of super package called tidyverse. So we want to do the same sort of thing with install. So go ahead and install and library tidyverse, and then install a thing called tinytext. Once you get that installed, we are going to then use one of the functions in tinytext. So we will, in order to tell it where to find the function, I'm going to tell it, particularly from tinytext, I want to call this function, install tinytext. What this is doing is it's running a small version of a LaTeX package. We're going to need this when we're doing our markdowns. So I suggest you go ahead and do this and try it out. If you have any trouble, then there's a link on your documentation for the work to go to frequently asked questions for this TinyText. So once you've got that installed, that is your work for this section, is to have Tidyverse installed, TinyText installed, and then run this TinyText install TinyText. Okay, come back and we will talk about RMarkdown and what reproducibility is.